Hey guys, what is up? I am here live with you. Sorry for being a little late there. Of course, we're gonna hop right into the show. You know, your guys' comments were cracking me up as we were getting ready to go here. First and foremost, welcome to Lockboss season 4.19, and of course, I'm gonna be drinking a Topo Chico, which is my favorite beverage of choice. Whatever you're drinking, whether it's a Topo or something a little more spicy, I just want to say cheers to you out there drinking. All right, so here in just a few moments, we're going to be talking with Deviant. I already see in the chat, so many of you, of course, know who he is, so I'm excited to get rolling there. First and foremost, though, if you're enjoying the show and you want more where that came from, make sure that you slide on over to our friend Iowa Lock Docs, Jimmy J's Discord for the after party. It starts up just right after our show ends. So we really talk a little bit about everything, and I'll be over there as soon as we're done here, and look forward to chatting with you then. Quick fun fact, if you notice, I finally got our new sign hung up. So I'm very proud of that. You know, it only took me about a week to remember to bring in my long level to make sure I put it on straight, because who likes a crooked sign, right? Who likes a crooked sign? But all right, Julio, hope you're out there. I may ask for a link or two to get put in the chats. And with that being said, you know, here in a moment, I'm going to bring on Deviant Ollam. He is a physical security expert and, man, known for many different things. Of course, he's part of the core group and the Red Team Alliance and Red Team Tools, which is what we're going to be talking about here in just a few moments. So without further ado, actually, let's talk about the giveaway here, actually. I'm getting ahead of myself. Sorry, Julio, messing you up. But anyways, hey, going on during the live, if you enter in the hashtag Lockboss, we will be choosing 3 lucky winners to get $250 each to CLK Supplies website here, all right? So just put the hashtag Lockboss in, uppercase, lowercase. Doesn't really matter. You can do it more than once. You only get entered in once per user. And here at the very end, we'll announce the 3 lucky winners. All right. So without further ado, let's bring on Deviant. Deviant, how are we doing?
Hey, man. Thank you for having me on.
Absolutely. Yeah. Glad to have you on, and really been looking forward to this. Talking about Red Team Tools. But first and foremost, I want to show you something, all right? And so when did we met at a low?
A couple years back, I guess.
Yeah, I think it was like 2022 or so. Is that the Vegas
Sounds about
one?
right. Yeah.
And you gave me something when we had met, and I actually still have it right here.
Oh, that's the old version. That's one of the early days when we were trying to do low magnetic signature for people in non-permissive environments. That little Devious decoder card.
Yes. So I still actually have it. I've actually always kept it up on my workbench there. It's pretty cool, and it's one of the tools I want to talk about. But I just want to let you know, you gave it to me then. I actually still have it. So
I love that, man. And we switched them to steel because a lot of folk, when they put it in the back of the van, running down the road, like they get beat up. But yours, I like that yours is still kicking. It's not bent and broken or anything like that.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I know. It's in particular, when I saw like the new ones are, just like the steel. Mm-hmm. I was like, man, this is like a collector's item now, right?
Kind of, yeah. Yeah, they still show. Every now and then I'll open a drawer and I'll find, a small stack of them that I brought back from some job or some trade show. I'll be like, oh, yeah, the red ones. What are we going to do with these? So maybe if you want them as a giveaway or something, I'll give you a short stack of the unobtainium ones at this point.
Okay, yeah, awesome. Yeah, they're pretty cool, and I'm excited. I am very curious how many people watching right now know what this is. I saw in the chat a few do, but it'll be fun to kind of go through there. So from there, our relationship kind of led into, you ended up sending me a box of stuff, which I still have, which I'll be using and talking about. And first and foremost, thank you for, allowing us to sell a lot of your very unique tools.
Oh, man, thank you. I think what I told you at the time, thanks go this direction from all of us. A drum I've beaten very, very consistently over the years is that this is a really important trade, and it is a trade that is aging out. And the industry hasn't been great at appealing and recruiting younger folk. And you and what the team are doing, both kind of on the social side and on, the outreach you're doing is getting people into this industry. So yeah, you're one of my absolute favorite people in the entire locksmithing world.
Awesome. Well, thank you. Just a guy up here in Idaho, doing some weird videos, I think, as far as, or as my kids say, boring videos. But well, no, that's me, Dad. Why do you act so weird? And I'm like, it's natural. It's natural.
Absolutely.
But so could you give us like just a little? I mean, you have such a impressive resume and all the different things that you have done. I'm really curious how like Red Team Tools kind of came to be. Sure.
Unlike most of the pros that you work with, I mean, I kind of came at the whole industry from a weird direction where even physical security in general wasn't my original forte. It was, a hobby on the side. It was something I knew how to exploit, but I wasn't getting paid for it originally. I was a ones and zeros guy before I was a doorbuster. And there's a much longer version of that story and certain clients that I had when I was able to show up to do something on the network. And there's a famous story of a law office where somebody had rage quit and just kind of slammed the door and left. And like, I don't think he's coming back. And they said, well, we got to change the passwords. And when we get in the guy's office. So I was waiting there to be let in. And I said, look, just curious, I've been here like 40 minutes. I'm on the clock. You said you're waiting for a locksmith. Can you show me what are we looking at here? And they showed me where the server room, and I broke into the server room for them. And I said, okay, well, cancel the locksmith, I guess. Sorry who lost that call. And I, did what I had to do. And as I was leaving, I was trying to tell them about, okay, well, your network looks good. And here's how to reset your passwords. And here's your new root password. And they said, yeah, new root password. What is that door? And I was like, oh, yeah, well, your doors aren't trued up and the latches aren't engaging correctly. I can show you how to slip the latches. And they brought us back just to do an eval of their physical hardware and all their door hardware. And that led to a car dealership and some other things. And my buddy who runs this big conference called DEF CON and Black Cat, he said, you should do a training about this. No one wants to listen. Like you, I was like, no one wants to listen to people talking about locks. And no, people will like it. So ultimately, I was a physical penetration tester and trainer in this space. And the idea of like what equipment we would have in the classroom, well, you order from, this is going, I'm going to use some names that are very old names like Shomer Tech. And back when, when Barrett was like the name in town, right? I mean, you obviously have worked with Barrett a lot, and I love the growth that you've had there in acquisitions. But, we'd order from lockpicks.com, or we'd order from like Larry down in Florida, right? Like Larry and Lenny. And you're just kind of ordering from existing vendors, most of whom focus on serving the working trades. There's a talk I gave at Aloha about how the gear that we sometimes need in the covert entry world, everything's a balancing act where, like maybe if you're a locksmith and the customer's there and you're not trying to hide and be not seen, you want the tool with a big ergonomic handle because it's going to work really well and feel good in your hands. But if you're trying to slip in maybe in a business suit or looking like, I'm here to fix the cable machine, and like you're trying to like keep stuff in a jeans pocket or in a back pocket or just the palm of your hand as you're breezing by, maybe you don't want the big handle. Maybe you want something smaller and chopped down. It might be a little harder to fit in your hands and to work, but that works. So we were ordering equipment through a lot of great providers, and every now and then I would be like, I bet we could improve this one thing if we chop this handle down, or if we make, for even that decoder card. Everyone knows, Lab and Lock Monkey and other people that have made really large decoder cards. That the one you're holding, I was like, what if we made the one that just fit in your wallet? Why don't we make one that's and there's a little extra going on you're going to want to talk about for people that don't know it. But that was the origin of Red Team Tools. And it was never meant to be a retail site. It was really designed to just be like students in class would say, hey, I loved the fact that I had that thing that I used, but I'm worried about bending it. This is a really thin, like a Peterson mini knife or something. Like, I'm really worried I might damage it. can I get another one? Or more likely, it was somebody who would write to us a week or two and say, hey, another thing in class, I damaged it. How do I get another one? And this is back in the day when not everyone was selling to the public. So I would say, well, you could try to get an account with this or that, but I can get you another one. Write to me. If you literally, Bobak and I were getting like PayPal transactions and handwriting like envelopes and like dispatching stuff to students.
Yeah.
And that became such a like, oh man, I don't want to keep doing it. Do you want to be in my garage every day? Just send it. Because people would reach out and say, I never took your class, but this other guy showed me this interesting tubular pick that you modified. How do I get one? Like, all right, well, we set up a little PayPal page. So instead of like individual emails, like we would get PayPal like orders, like a little yellow PayPal button. And that would work for a while. And then again, you suddenly get so like, we're not retail jockeys. We don't have a staff in a warehouse. So I had a buddy who did. I had a buddy who sold keys online. And I told him about this. He said, well, I can make a website for you. I can make an actual domain and, you don't have to play with this PayPal game. And I said, yeah, let's do that. And all of a sudden, I guess we own a website now. So Red Team Tools was started up as a way to make sure our current and former students and sort of through word of mouth, people who wanted the things that we were making, they could get them. And then eventually, that guy who I talked about, like a few years later, he's like, hey man, we got a baby on the way and I can't have this spare bedroom full of all these boxes, which have grown significantly. You keep making new stuff. So now I got to find a new warehouse and a new warehouse. And it's still not a big part of what we do, but it's a very satisfying part of what we do. And to have the relationships with a number of other manufacturers now, where if I just think of a thing, I can be on a job or in a classroom and be like, why is it like that? Why shouldn't it have to be that way? What if we milled this down into I'm drawing a really bad napkin drawing and I'm sending it to one of my machinists and they're like, yeah, this is not exactly a dimensional diagram, but I can do something with this. And you get a prototype and you're like, wow, this is cool. I'm making tools now.
Wow. Yeah, that's and something, I believe it was in your book that I read that kind of about your upbringing on how like being resourceful with what you have or fix it, fixing things instead of just getting new or whatever. Mm-hmm. And after I read that is what I really noticed with a lot of the different tools and stuff. Like there's like this like man, I've been really trying to think of how to describe it. It has something to do with it's simple, functional, and in a way it kind of does complex things, and later when we talk about the impressioning tool or the tubular tools or like examples of that, it's like taking you use stuff that like everyone has in their toolbox can be a part of now impressioning a key or picking a tubular lock sort of thing. So now, do you recognize that a lot? And like a lot of your teachings and stuff that I've seen, is it nature, like second nature for you? Or is it something that that you kind of work at? Like, how do I get this more simple? How do I figure this out?
It definitely, and I think a lot of the folk in this field, it comes naturally to a lot of us. How many of us, either ourselves or colleagues of ours, you look in their toolbox and you're like, whoa, who makes this? And they're like, oh yeah, I kind of knocked that together one day and I made it 20 years ago. I still keep using it. It works better for me. And you're like, did you ever monetize it? No, I was doing other stuff. So I think that spirit is there for a lot of people. And a number of people, you buy something off the rack and you say, well, it could be a little better. Over time, you're like, I kept adjusting it this way. And I realized if I shaved this side down with my file, it actually passes way more easily into sometimes you get these weird, you use it on Euro keyways. So I like it better that way now. And I hope I don't have to buy a new one because the original is long gone, but this version I could never get again. I really want to keep it this way. So I think a lot of people see the world that way. I certainly do. And it's a good thing. A lot, how many of us on the other side of the coin know somebody who they'll buy a thing? Well, that's the way it comes. So that's the way you use it. And that's the type of thinking I've never really had.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I think it makes, as you're talking, I'm like, yeah, I mean, how many times when you go look at like a locksmith's workstation, whether it's their clip removal tool or their followers or whatever, like there's all sorts of like little mods to it, right? Over the years, they kind of changed and modified. And yeah, I think that's an excellent point. But hey, let's go ahead. Let's hop into some of the items. Let's talk about them. And I'm really curious to get any insights or anything that you have to offer here on that. first and foremost, I think it's only right to start with the Devious decoder. Now, for a lot of people watching, in our industry, a lot of times we know of key gauges, which are very popular. And then we've been selling, actually, there's a lock shop out of Sunnyside, Washington, who been a long-time customer of ours, but actually came to me at an Aloha event and was like, PJ, and he hands me these things, and they're pin decoders. And he's like, listen, when you're rekeying a brand new lock, there's no need to throw the pins away. You can quickly and easily decode them and put them away. And essentially is what you made here is kind of like, I don't know, if those two things had a baby, probably.
Yeah.
Right?
Because pin decoders you're talking about the sort of the plastic ones that are about the size of a 6-inch ruler?
Yep.
Yeah, they're great. They're freaking wonderful.
Yes. I can't find them off the top of my head here, but yeah, yes, those. And as a matter of fact, is what they are made out of is that Locksmith happens to also make, what do they call, like engraved, kind of like nameplates? Yeah. Or whatever. Yeah, that's the material they're made out of. Yeah.
So we literally in our classrooms at those early days when we were just buying what we could, we had the long lab or lock monkey, like tall gauge, the metal gauge for keys. And we had your decoders. We had the black and the red, quickset and Schlage in our kits. Then students were using them in class. But we had students say, man, all this stuff, how much of these the question we would often get was, again, these are Govy guys. These are police and military and other people like that. And they're saying, well, I can't keep all of this. Most of these guys are either wearing a plate carrier or a radio or something. What's the least amount I need? Like in the field, am I more likely to encounter a Schlage or a quickset? Like, what do I keep in the car and what do I keep on me? And that evolved into being like, well, I wonder how small we could make it. And the first thing I said was, first of all, that large key gauge, let's chop that down, because if you can put it in the wallet, like driver's license, and their lab has made one that's almost wallet sized, but like let's make it exactly ID1 wallet sized. And as I was thinking, because there's a lot, if you're not in the trade, like how often is a sergeant who's got to open like locks on a military, but how often is he going to run into like a West lock or something that's, like residential, like old, like I'm like, well, you don't throw those brands out. Let's stick with the major things they're going to most likely hit. And then, as I was getting it down, I was like, well, I can eliminate this. I can eliminate, no, I don't really, Wiser. I can eliminate Wiser, maybe. I was like, man, I actually have more room than I thought I needed, which is good because at the time, you want to make it really robust. Again, the government guys, military guys, you issue it to them, anything you issue is going to come back lost, broken, or pregnant. So I was like, all right, let's not make it too flimsy here. But I said, well, I got some more space. Oh, crap. These pin gauges, not to undermine, your business. I was like, I could try to make those little stair-step patterns, complementary cuts. So that's what we did. We said, can you make keys and pins for a very limited set? It's just Schlage and quickset. And with Master and American, you get to double dip on those pins because they use the same pin. They just call them different ordinals by one. So we kind of played around, Tetrised it up in a CAD diagram. And I said, I think we can make this just on one single wallet card. And again, all the special teams and all the people who do spooky stuff, they loved it. They said, I can just have this in my wallet. No one's going to notice it. And if I take a lock apart in the field, whether I find, pins or if I take a key out of a drawer, I can measure it, put it back the way I found it, and I can get gone from the environment. I can do what I do to decode it and come back tomorrow or send another team member back tomorrow who suddenly has a working key because we decoded it right in the field with something that fit in the back of my pocket.
Yeah, I mean, it makes complete sense, and they're so useful, the locksmith who made these, like as we kept ordering more and more and more of them, he was always like, PJ, I think you need to put a disclaimer in the description that you can use more than once, but I think it goes to show how useful being able to quickly and easily decode not only keys, which is popular, but the pins side of it. And you're right. If you have like one of the more compact wallets, even like a Ridge or something like that, easily fits in it. And it's a pretty cool item here.
Yeah. So the first, as you showed the red one, for those who didn't understand, that's not like anodized metal. That's made out of PCB. It's routed out of PCB plastic. And if anybody's ever done PCB fabbing, like you can't get the slot small enough. So we had to play a little game with tinning the slot to get that little thin, like Schlage #2. But it was great. No magnetic signature. But most of the cats in the field, they said, we'd really like something that we can crunch on, sit on, throw a knock around. So now the DDC-A, the North American version, is steel. And it's not the only version. Shouts out to, I'm pretty sure, someone in the chat. I think we got James from Dark Arts Lockpicking in the chat. So he coordinated with us on the DDC Oz, the Australian version. Right so here. For some reason, I have loads of people who watch my stuff and F with my videos from down underverse. And yeah, we threw like Gainsborough, and Yale obviously is down there along with Lockwood. So with that, there's a DDC-E that's for the Europeans that's coming out. And a lot of people want one. We could ask the chat. I would love to know from you and from the viewers. People have been really asking me for a version that a lot of people want best, like best A2 system, SFICs, which that tells me, all right, we'll start with that. But what would a DDC-I, an institutional locksmith, what else would you put on a card for people who mostly work institutional settings? Would this be something like, I don't know, like, yeah, you tell me. Like, what else would be? Corbin Russwin would be, maybe it comes to mind. Or, I mean, Yale shows up a lot. But we already have Yale represented on the Oz card. So, yeah, I don't know what else would be, institutional locksmithing. But it's in the back of my brain. I have so many ideas that I just have to get into reality land. But it's up there somewhere.
Yeah, I would think, off the top of my head is, of course, having the A2 system on there, but even having, like, Schlage on there. Because, with the LFIC stuff and all the different Primus or Everest and all that kind of stuff. That's true. Yeah. Yeah, but yeah,
somebody said Sergeant, Sergeant wouldn't be bad. I run into a lot of Sergeant.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Sergeant. Yeah, that's good. Yeah. As a matter of fact, Adrian, who is the owner of Dave's Lock and Bozeman, he was an institutional locksmith. So, yeah. That's a good one. Well, very good. Yeah, that's it's a really cool item, and I think is as far as us selling them, the volume of sales on those is really starting to go up. I think as people catch on, why have multiple things when you can just have one? Now, have you ever, just out of curiosity, on the side here with all this open space, put little like clip remover or like do you ever get tempted to start doing weird things with them?
I promise you this, when the DDC-I comes out, we will absolutely have a clip remover on that one. There's my word to y'all. Okay. It's very much a missing feature that I should have there.
Okay, very cool. All right, Julio, let's get on to the next one here. Now, this next one is the door gap tool. Now, this is something at first I honestly had no idea what this is. I mean, obviously it's for door fire inspections, right? And if you could, if there's others like me maybe in the chat, like why is this tool important and what is it exactly measuring?
So among various things, I'm a real collector of certifications for myself, even ones that I might not use every day. But it's multiple reasons. First of all, just learning for the sake of learning is great. And anybody who works at any kind of shop or company that will send you to any trainings, even once a year, I'm a big fan of it. So if you go to Aloha, if you go to Savta, get your company to send you a couple days early. The pricing is astonishing for even just the 3-day package to get a couple of those training sessions in and just challenging yourself to new, like it's valuable. And as far as honestly, just it adds a little gravitas to say, yeah, I'm credentialed. I've learned these things. Am I doing skiff construction every day? No. But like I went down to Kentucky. I went through Lockmaster's whole skiff program. Am I servicing GSA containers every day? No. I do. It's fun. It's fun to do a neutralization of those. I have a video about drilling out a GSA safe at a Secret Service office. But again, I got GSA certified just because I wanted to learn it. And among those other things, Drumpy and Tom DeMont, they're my forensics instructors. I don't do a lot of court testimony, but I'm a forensic locksmith. And in there, what the real reach one that's weird was NFPA 80. I took the life safety and NFPA door inspection training, fire door training. The reason, honest to God, was to be able to sound more authoritative if even in my career, is to be in places I don't belong. If a security guard stops me or someone challenges me and says, "What are you doing in here?" I can now be, what are y'all doing in here? Because these doors are effed. None of these are compliant. And I can just rattle off a bunch of violations. Loads of buildings have violations. And you can point them out. Well, this door doesn't self-close correctly. This doesn't self-latch. This is a field modification. These appurtenances aren't qualified. This isn't labeled with UL. And one of the things you check is door clearances. So wood door versus metal door, there's certain specifications on which one's 1/4 inch, 1/8 inch, plus or minus. And being able to have a tool that you can very quickly check the door clearances, that's what that, and I'm not the first one to make a tool like that. There's others on the market. Most of them are all out of patent at this point. So we kind of looked at what was there, said, these are good, but they could be way better. And then James in our office and some other people, I mean, we've got people who just make 3D models. We have 3D printers humming away in the background most of the time. And additive manufacturing is great to go from notion to, hey, what does this feel like, to give it to some friends. And it's like, oh, wow, this is really great. So most of the time, that is a social engineering tool more than anything else in my kit, because it gives you just a reason to be in a building. If I'm in and I'm checking doors, and sometimes I'm testing the emergency batteries on the E-lights. Well, that guy's clearly doing something. His polo shirt matches his hat, and he's doing something official looking. He's writing on a clipboard. He must belong here. But yeah, it's just being able to do a fire, and loads of people in now. It's kind of comes back around. So I've got people in the Aloha trainings who will come up to me and say, "Hey, we're running that training again. Can you? How many can Red Team Tools ship us those door gap tools?" I'm like, "Yeah, why?" They said, "Well, they're actually better than the ones we were using. We kind of want to give them to the students, and then that means students wind up ordering them again in the future."
Yeah, I never thought of just having that knowledge and just, I mean, in those environments, right? You can rattle off stuff forever, and people like to do weird things to doors, right? Mm-hmm. Like at the time, obviously it made sense to someone, maybe. But when you see it later on, it's like, man, that's a weird way to secure a latch, or a strike plate or something. So yeah, having that knowledge is good, right? And I think also with a lot of the stuff that you do, understanding what the code is or what it should be spec'd at when it's done is just useful information.
Yeah, if people really are curious about fires and fire codes and fire safety, I kind of hyper-focused for a while, and I wound up doing that. If you can look online, look for my name, and I won't swear on your podcast. Stuff's on fire, yo, but it's a different word that starts with S. I don't know if we can swear here. But F's on fire, yo. That's all. Like it wound up being almost a 2-hour talk. It was supposed to be a short talk, and the audience in that room was so interested in why are these bulbs this color and that extinguisher. And then by the end of the talk, we had the whole audience jumping up and running around the room doing a fire door inspection on all the auditorium doors. And you hear people shouting out like, "This one, the bottom bolt's not flush. This one isn't self-latching. This one, the door clearances aren't right." These are all parts of our world that people have worked so hard to make hardware that's supposed to perform a role. And a lot of code officials over the years have tried to really keep people safe, many times out of disasters that have happened and we've learned from. I love it when all this work that normally is just, we don't notice it. We just go about our day. It's fun to be able to, more, in my mind, actively participate in the world around us by looking and just quietly appreciating all that goes into, many of us, if you ever just go through a doorway and you're like, wow, that door's hung really well. Like it just clicked true. It's like right in there. There's no drift. It feels good. You're like, whoever did that, good job. And you can just feel good about it. Or if it's not working well, you tell your relatives, like at Thanksgiving, you can get a little freaking hinge jockey on this, and you can doctor that up. You can hinge doctor that pretty quickly. I got one in my bag, and being able to fix things. It's just the way my brain goes.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same way. A weird thing that I've always kind of done is, a lot of like inexpensive locks, their latches break, right? It's very common. It's kind of like that square tubular style. And I've always had this weird thing that I'm always like, it's not The lock isn't, the lock's not high quality. I'm not here to defend it, but the problem is that it wasn't put on the door properly. And so to prove a point, years ago on my dad's main lock shop on his back door, this door gets abused all day long, right? And I'm like, to prove my point, I'm going to put it was a grade 3, so I know it's opposite of fire code issues, but I put a little cheapy entry lock on it. And we kept it on there for a year. And all I did was I put it on properly and align the latch properly. And guess what? For a full year of abuse, slamming, pushing, pulling, it never broke. Right? And it's just simply because it was put on properly, which is something that obviously when you're trying to get in without having a key per se, it's wonderful. It makes it super easy in those situations. But, nonetheless, it's kind of what we're talking about. When stuff's done properly, you can feel it, right? When you're opening, closing the door, all that stuff. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. And truly, I think our first order, after we got these on the side, I think like our first order was like 20 or 30 of them to one person. I'm like, that's odd, but then after I realized, I start looking at who the customers are, you're like, makes sense. But
the little, I don't know if you stock these from us or not, but we call them lever handle like shrouds. They're just a small silver shroud that just, you have one, yeah. And it's just to prevent under door tool attacks. Literally, that's all it's for. And every now and then, somebody buys one or two, or maybe they have a small office, they buy a half dozen. One time I looked, somebody was like, "You see this order?" I was like, "That's a very expensive order. What is that?" Sometimes one of our fulfillment guys will even reach out. Chad is great. He's like, "Hey, Steve, double check this. Is this a legit? Go into the payment processor. Is this a stolen credit card? This is $1,000 order." And I go, "Yeah, look, that's clear to ship." But he asked me to check, and I said, "Oh, it's interesting, couple $100 here, and it's like a $900 order." And I looked. I was expecting like, what do they buy? A bunch of electronic tools, because we sell stuff from Garrett and Hackaware. We sell the Proxmark and things. No electronics. It was hundreds and hundreds of those. It was like 850 of those little shrouds. I was like, "What is this?" And it was a hotel. It was a major hotel. So yeah, I was actually, and again, those who watch some of my stuff, I follow up, and I'm not going to name names here, but I was at the hotel, physically there for a conference, and I remember the guy's name. He was the head of rooms, head of house, and I told the staff, I said, "Hey, so-and-so here today?" And homie came over to me at the lunch in the restaurant. He was like, "Are you the guy from Red Team Tools?" I said, "Yeah." "What you've equipped? Have you really put these on like every one of your doors? Because I've been checking. I've been staying here. A friend staying here. Like you guys went down every hall." He's like, "Oh man, night and day." And I said, "Night and day how?" And again, the story. This is a major city in America. He said, "We were getting break-ins multiple times a week in our hotels." And I said, "Whoa, that's hopefully no one got hurt." Like, no assaults or anything. People look for rooms with no one in them when everyone's out at work or conferences during the day. People break in, they steal a laptop, they steal prescription medicine. And I said, "Man, I won't tell anybody about, I'm not going to make your hotel look bad." He said, "Oh, it's not just us. It's every major hotel in every city you've heard of. Like it's just happening everywhere." And I said, "Damn, how's it been since you ordered these? Any improvement?" He said, "Dropped to zero. Absolutely dropped to zero."
Wow.
Because it's like our hotel became known as that weird, frustrating hotel that the under door tool just doesn't work and nobody knows why. And I guess criminals went elsewhere.
Wow. Yeah, as a matter of fact, I think that's Julio. I think our next slide is that tool. If not, one. Yep. Actually, next tool. Yeah, the lever handle. So if you're not quite sure what we're talking about, this is what we're talking about, right? We all hopefully know how the under the door tool works, and this is like one of those. Going back to my earlier comment, where it's like something so simple, easy to install, solves a problem. Right. And I think it's one of those things in particular, like if you are doing work, like for the locksmiths watching right now, like if you're doing work and a customer is worried about security, right? Like you're there for a reason and you're doing the work, putting one of these on a door to add that little bit of extra security is like, it's an easy win, right? It's a super easy win. Yeah. It's a really awesome, such a simple thing. I remember when I seen it for the first time, I was like, it's so simple.
Yeah.
Right. And by the way, confusing if you're trying to use the tool and maybe you haven't seen him before, you're not sure if the door has it on. You're like, what's going on here? Like, I just told someone I can get in 2 seconds, and now I can't. Right.
Mm-hmm. It's really fun to watch people stumble over them too. Because when at our other company, RTA is our training arm, right? Red Team Alliance, and we'll have very high speed guys come in. Sometimes it's just a basic class, but we've had simulation runs where we had, various military groups come in. We'll take a whole floor of the building and configure it like an office or like a residential environment, whatever their mission needs are. And we'll have them, all right, we'll brief them, we'll walk through, we'll say, this is your mission, here's your briefing, go. And here's your and as a team, they operate for half an hour. They go and they have objectives like get to the documents, get to this, implant a device in the wall. And they're using the skills they learned, because most of these are people who've gone through our class already. And then they do it, and we're following them, we're filming them, and okay, let's sit down in the main briefing room, we debrief. Now, who did this? And they think they're just getting a debrief and free coffee and donuts. Now, what's happening is as we're doing that, our team is back in that space, switching switching a couple door handles, switching some strike plates, adding a door shroud in 1 or 2 doors. And then they say, all right, you want to try it again? We're going to slightly different mission this time. This time you want to get into this room, that. But they think it's the same office, the one they were just in. And then they go in again, and all of a sudden shit's going haywire because they're like, I was so easy. You got this door last time, didn't you? You try it. And we're like, yeah, well, did you think it was going to be the same? No, stuff can be different, man. That's what happens in the real world. Something comes at you from the side. And by the end of the week, they know how to check and probe. And sometimes they're looking under doors a little bit with a scope. But yeah, learning to give them a curveball once in a while. That's one of the easiest things. There's a story I know of. This is just a funny separate story, but it's a door wedge. It's like a door, any kind of door stop, but it has metal cleats in the bottom of it. It's meant to really hold a door in place as a barricade. And it was SOG made this long ago, the SOG wedge. There was a team that was literally doing room clearing. I mean, this was a team with simunitions and blue guns. And they were tactical column, doors stacking up, boom, 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 boom. That was their main training. And they were just thinking they were just going to go through a shoot house each time. And yeah, the target presentations were different. And this isn't my team running it. This was a buddy of mine running this training. And different scenarios, and there's a hostage, there isn't a hostage. But they thought they were so used to this house. And one time, he said, all right, here's the mission. Here you go, ready to go. And all he did was go in the building, and he just went to the first door and just kicked the crap out of a door wedge underneath it. And he walked back around. He said, okay, let's go, fellas, air horn. And watching a whole column of guys bang into each other because no one could get through this door. And all their training went to crap, and they weren't aware of any of their surroundings, all because this one stupid $8 plastic metal tool.
Yeah.
The little things that can really throw you sometimes.
Absolutely, yeah, and I think that's a great example of like how this would be also. In particular, I mean, if you've never seen one before, you're really confused. But that's good. Julio, want to pull up the next slide, please? All right, the Lishi standoff spacers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I was telling you at the beginning again, right? Like the little things that make efficiency and lower costs and all of that, which is these spacers,
mm-hmm.
right? Like whether or not it's the Quickset or Schlage Lishis, in particular the SC20, right? If you get the SC20
mm-hmm.
Lishi with the spacer, it's going to cover you essentially for all of the standard keyways.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you're watching and you're not sure what I'm talking about, right, you get the 6-pin version. Instead of having to buy the 5-pin version and the 6-pin version of, let's call it Schlage, is what you could do, and I've talked about this in the past, right, is just getting the SC20 version because it's going to cover you for everything, including the Schlage C keyway. But essentially what these are, these little spacers that you put onto the Lishi when you're going to be using a 5-pin, and it just exactly what it describes, a little spacer stands off
mm-hmm.
a little bit, and now you just use the Lishi as a 5-pin. And now I know this is something that you've been selling and using for a while. Like, how has the feedback been when you're showing people that they can do this? And I mean, this right here is worth, depending on the type of Lishi you buy, let's call it $50 to $70 is what this is worth.
In a way, that's what people like. They're saying, you tell me I don't have to buy 2 of these. Mm-hmm. And it's not having, as you say, the SC4 and the SC1 or the SC20. Well, they don't make an SC19. So if you had an F keyway in 5-pin, which would be weird, admittedly, but it solves that problem. But either we have students in our classes who are like young and kind of, they don't have a big budget. This is back when, I remember when Lishis were $100 or $50. Now they're even below that. I think you and I, between the two of us, we kind of kill everybody on Lishi pricing at this point. There's a few other guys out there that try to compete. I kind of keep an eye and be like, no, we could beat that. We could beat that. But even though you're still talking real money for especially young students, and you tell them, I only need one of these 2 things, I can save that money, that's great. And even the gummy guys who have the budget for days, but they're like, you're telling me I only need one of these in my chest pocket and the other one I don't need to carry, they love saving the space. So you're saving money or space, and just able to make it more efficient. Because again, it just, in my mind, I was like, well, what's the between cut centers is going to be consistent across a Schlage or a Quickset. And if you look at the BCCs are so close that I just kind of split the difference. And I was like, let's just slide it on either one of the Lishis. It's going to be, no one cares about, oh, my Lishi gauge is reading 2 thou of an inch off to the left or right. I can't use it. No, invalid. No, of course it's fine. You can totally use it.
Yeah, and it's very similar. This type of thing, like this little item, being able to save you significant money, especially when you're buying multiples. Mm-hmm. Compared to, it's kind of similar to, I've done several videos where I literally beg people to not buy certain keys, right? I'm like, listen, this key is like way more money. It's identical, just buy this one. And I think it's like some weird, like, reverse psychology or pranking or something, because what will happen, we'll get a lot of orders for those keys I'm telling people to not buy, and I'm like, no, I'm actually being serious. You do not need to buy that key. But like in particular, like a FIC1, right? The older FastTech key. And then the FIC3 came out. Well, the FIC3 works in FIC1, but the FIC1 won't work in the newer FIC3. So like, please never buy an FIC1 key ever again, okay? You're just a waste of money. Within the next few days, you start seeing a bunch of FIC1 keys coming in, and they're like, well, PJ, why do you still sell it? I'm like, well, I don't know. I mean, if someone's searching for it, I guess we might as well still sell it, but I really don't want you to buy it, okay?
We don't stock in our student kits. We don't stock the control keys anymore for for LFIC and FSIC. We use your tip where we show the students how to negative the shoulder down if you offset the cutting. And it's one of the exercises in one of our extended classes about if they come across an operating key or they're issued an operating key on a premises for a day, we show them, it's in your video, how to convert it to a control key and how to pull a core. And then, of course, then they can dump it, measure the pins, put it all back, and then away you go.
Oh, cool. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's another great option. Less product, less expensive, and it's kind of the way to go on that. I mean, it's those type of things for me growing up in my dad's lock shop, right? When you're like the boss's son, man, if you don't learn how to get good, you get a lot of flack, right? And after enough flack, you really start thinking, But Julio, you want to pull up the next slide there? All right. Now, this is my favorite one. Now, admittedly here, this is my favorite. So this is the Quick Connect with impressioning head and the tubular lock pick. All right. Now, here's the tubular pick. And I will show everyone in a minute my favorite item, which is, so you can just pop this off. As you can see here, it's a tubular pick you can put on the end of hopefully an item you already have in your toolbox.
Yeah,
right?
Everybody's got a quick connect bit holder.
Exactly. But this in particular, I would just love to kind of get your input on this a little bit. I know we've texted about it some, but so this is an impressioning head here, and I have it all set up as it is, but built in, there's a couple of magnets on here that hold a little Allen wrench. So you can tighten and loosen the key, and you can get it fit. There's a lot of room, and I don't know if you can, there we go. So you can see there's quite a bit of room in there. So you get to really position the key where you feel comfortable with when it comes to impressioning. On certain locks, I can be rough, right? And so I really want to get the head in as far as possible because I want the least amount of leverage as possible because I'm going to twist that sucker off, right?
Yeah.
And that kind of thing. And there's this little handle here or tension applier.
Little side peg kind of, yeah.
Yep. And the cool part is when you take this off, you can store it compactly by having it right here in the back. And so I would love to get your, but like, how did you come up with this idea of this impressioning head?
Yeah. So as with many times I talk about anything, it's nobody is the original complete creator birthing into the world of anything. There's loads of other great designs that have existed and you take inspiration from and different ideas from. So that the idea of a long peg hanging off the side for maximum kind of torquing. My friend Jos Devious in the Netherlands, that was he always liked to do. He had big screws coming out of the sides of his, and ultimately Jort Knap, I guess is JKS Tools, like in the Netherlands, he would just manufacture impressioning gear occasionally with a long peg hanging off the side. I looked at that, thought about that. I was like, man, I would love to see that here in the U.S. So like Rubber Band's a Madison, like, so Locksmith, based out in Portland, like Locksmith, who makes really cool tools, makes a really nice impressioning handle. Made some for us. We prototyped together. We still order loads of gear from Rubber Band. But all these different folk, you're kind of borrowing different ideas and saying, can you make it this way? I think probably the idea of parking the side peg somewhere else, that might have come from Rubber Band. I think one of his designs was like that. But when I was in the, normally the struggle is real. The struggle is ergonomics versus compact. If I'm happy to just have a tool, I want like the old HPC Hudson Clean Grip. And that was a freaking lightsaber. That was a huge monster of a tool. And it would lock in really well. But again, it's giant. It's like it's bigger than the Clean Grip, or it's bigger than the Frame-On. It's bigger than the Pro Lock. Like, it's huge. So we kept trying to make a version of something that would get smaller and smaller and smaller, because I don't want big bulky stuff in my pockets if I'm slipping in a building. And let's make a tinier handle. And eventually, when the handles got, and we did this with the tubular picks as well. You've seen that large black handle starting to get small. Now people make the stubby handle. And at some point, I was like, why are we just making all these tiny, tiny dumb handles when I'm pretty sure the most innocuous, explainable thing in your kit, like, oh, I have a screwdriver. No one cares, and no security guard is like, oh, this is a locksmithing breaking in tool. No, I have a repair kit in my laptop bag. This doesn't look weird, and it already is ergonomic. So why not we just make some hex flats and get chunka, and then you can actually make the locksmithing or covert entry tools as small as they can possibly be. They don't need a handle at all.
Yeah, absolutely. As a matter of fact, let me take this key out here. I love how, the having that little Allen wrench on there. Like, I mean, was that something you thought of immediately, or is that something that? Yeah, no, that was part of maybe, I don't want to be wrong and say somebody might have made an integrated Allen. I guess Pro Lock, you could slide an Allen key in the back of their handle. So people get incorporating an Allen wrench. I'm not the first person to do that, but I'm pretty sure it might have been me saying, hey, can we stick some magnets in here? Or maybe it was Mike D, who was one of my designers making the shape with me, but I'm really happy with that. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, so talking about how bulky and everything is, like, if you look at how compact and simple that is, I mean, it's pretty awesome. I have to tell you, like, when I first got this, I was like, first of all, I love, like many people, especially in the trades, right? Like, we love gadgets. Right? Like, I don't know why per se, my wife wonders, but I just love little gadgets you can put together and have some fun. And like, this is something that, depending on the size of even like your pick set or just like your basic tool bag, you can throw this in there and like, it's like it doesn't exist almost, right? And so, yeah, it's pretty awesome. I have to say so myself.
Yeah. And then letting your handle do double. And everyone has their own favorite handle. Some people are like Weha or Vera. Like, they love their Vera handle. So like, why have another handle you don't like? You have the handle you already like. Use our tools with your handle.
Yeah, that's a great point, huh? Yeah, everyone has their own ones that they enjoy. And by the way, you're getting rid of some of the not needed redundancy of like how many things like fixed this size do you need, right? That's only for one tool.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of multiple. Yeah, I think it's awesome. I personally absolutely love this thing.
Yeah, thank you. It's really, and we're finally getting them back in stock. The machinist who had made them, his shop went out of business, and we took the whole technical data package and we sent it to our other machinists who we keep all of our 3D printers humming and keep all the machinists pretty busy, mostly with crazy prototype ideas of mine. They're in the middle of trying to do something, they're fixturing something up. I'm like, hey, could you slide this idea into the mix? They're like, what is this new thing you just made? All right, we'll find a way to try it.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. All right, Julio, I think we have one more slide, I believe. Let's see. Yes. All right, now this is kind of going based off that same that shroud protector. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about the Deadbolt Safety Strap. And I know this is something that you kind of brought back from the dead, right?
Yeah.
You brought this back from the dead, and the funny thing about this, so I just have to say, so growing up in my dad's lock shop, he had the original on a display lock my entire childhood. It was always just sitting there with one of these on the back. People would always come in and ask. But if someone isn't familiar with what this is, and I just showed you, we showed your photo of it. Can you kind of give us a quick rundown? Like, why would someone want this on the back of the hotel lock?
Sure. I really like, again, mix of cheap, simple, and effective. There are no end of gadgets that are sold to people to make them safe on the road when they're traveling, etc. And the world's actually not a very dangerous place. There's risk in the world, but I don't want everyone like, oh, people are trying to break in and get my motel. No, you're probably fine in the world. But if you want a little extra, hey, this place looks shady, I want to get a little shut-eye. There's loads of things that people will sell. A lot of them are kind of crap. In fact, she used to have a YouTube channel, my friend Naomi Wu. She reviewed a whole bunch of them, these door wedges and these little spinema things. And she's a very frail woman. Even her girlfriend is not the biggest. What they would do was just shove the door open and it would just work. We're like, these are junk. The one that everyone tends to see heavily advertised on like Instagram is called the Ada lock, where it's sort of a red teardrop shape and a metal plate, and you stick the metal plate in the door and you kind of shim it down. My buddy Brian, his channel is called Modern Rogue. He's down in Texas, right? And we were doing a thing about hotels, and it was a throwaway take. I said, hey, you were talking to me about this device. Did you want to see me exploit this? And they're like, oh, well, we've been here a while. We got a lot of footage in the can. I don't know. We might be done principal filming for the day. And one of it is like his sound, she was like, let him, TV's usually fine, show it to him. And Brian busted a gut laughing because I said, here's how you install it. He installed it. And I immediately just kind of bang, just shouldered the door. The thing flies apart. He was like, this is the most popular tool out there. I mean, by sales, it probably is. But my point, and again, as a fire door guy, why are you trying to add an additional widget onto a door that is going to be small and cheaply made when the door itself, most of these are labeled doors. They are by code. They have to withstand a certain amount of latching force, pressure. The bolt work has to be a certain thickness. If you just make sure the bolt is engaged correctly, it's going to be way better than any $9.99 Amazon plastic special.
Yeah.
So the strap, which again, full credit to the Deadbolt strap, goes to Ron and Melinda Moore, a lovely old couple. I'll tell you more about them. They are no longer with us. It's very sad. Also Oregonians. The idea is, if you're in, and anyone can try this in any hospitality environment or even residential, if you turn the thumb turn and you've engaged a deadbolt, that thumb turn, if it cannot return to true, like back to flat, the door will not open. Whether or not you're using the key on the outside, you can imagine if someone's trying to turn a key on a deadbolt and you're inside holding the thumb turn, they'll probably snap that key before the lock's going to open. Yeah. And if you're inside, even if you try to reach up with an under door tool and hit the interior handle, try this. If that thumb turn is flipped, part of the egress motion, the lock work is it will unset. That is part of the exiting of the door. So if you can't get that thumb turn to turn, if the thumb turn is jammed, that bolt will never retract and the door will not be opened. What Ron and it was really Melinda who had the idea, and then Ron designed it and made it a product with her. The idea is it's a heavy nylon fabric and a Velcro pad. And there's always, and I have a video kind of describing how to do it, but there's always some configuration of wrapping around the thumb turn and then securing it around the handle and just snapping it to itself that jams the thumb turn. It just jams the thumb turn in place. It's the equivalent of standing at your door, holding the thumb turn with a hand. Just, I'm not letting it turn. But you could be asleep, you could be in the shower, you could be doing whatever you want to do, but that thumb turn, it's like standing there holding it jammed so that anyone on the outside, whether they want to or not, whatever means they're trying to use, they're not getting in. And it was a brilliantly simple idea. They sold it for years under their brand was called Super Grip Lock. It was a blue strap that many people remember seeing. Yep. And I loved it. I had one in my bag for a long time. I swore by it. I gave it to people as stocking stuffers. And one day I did a video about it. So I talked about that tool and a few others that I like. Of all the crap that's out there, I like this one. And they got in touch with me. A little while later, they said, hey, what internet weirdo are you that you're like, our sales went bananas because you, I said, oh, I did a video on you. I like your stuff. And we became friendly. They wrote back and forth a few times. They sent me a box of them that I gave away. And I was like, we should just put these on Red Team tools. They're great. And people are asking me for them. And I could redirect to your side. They said, no, we sell them in bulk. So I bought a bulk box and I sold them. And every year or two, once or twice a year, I just order another box of 500 because they were a great product. And it was this is the sad part of the story, it was during the pandemic. I tried to reorder and their website was broken. They were a small business. That was all they made. And it was a little PayPal engine on the back end. And you would try to complete the transaction. It would say, inventory transaction cannot work. Oh, maybe they're out of stock. And I checked back a month later. No, I still can't check out. And then a month after that, their website wasn't even there. It was a parked domain. What the hell happened? And I tried to write to them a couple times. Hey, how you been? What's going on? And they were old. They were retirees when they made this product. They were almost in their 80s by this point. Okay. And a little bit of internet searching, and I found the Obit. They're a lovely couple to the end. They passed within relatively short order of each other. So they were gone, and the business was just gone, as we've seen with some small shops. Look at the great, amazing tools that nobody died, thankfully, but look at A1. A1 was a small shop, made some cool shit. They're just gone now. And you can't get the Pack-a-Punch anymore. Can't get the speaker. So when their tool was gone, I said, I need this thing. At this point, I was used to people asking me for it. We gave it away in our classes. I said, I looked it up, and the patent was long expired. I said, well, Ron and Melinda, I'm going to try to keep your legacy going forward, and just I can best honor them by always trying to mention their names, credit where credit is due, and not soak people on the price. Just trying to keep what they were selling it for is what we sell it for, and that's why it lives on.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, that's a fun story. And you're right. I still remember the blue one on the display there. Yeah. Well, hey, thanks for some of the backstory on that. That's really cool. Yeah. And so now, they're still available, and it's good. I mean, it's almost like you're right. It's one of those, once again, keeping this in your luggage or what have you. Doesn't take up a lot of space. It's lightweight. Mm-hmm. And you can, if you have any sort of reservation about security when you're staying at a hotel or a Airbnb or, your own house, whatever it might be, and you want that little extra added security, it's a great option. Yeah.
If someone's got a retail brick and mortar lock shop, it's one of those things, as you remember, you can have a little stand showing a door, spin it around. This is this way, spin it around. The customer instantly understands what it is, instantly would like it. It's frankly a high margin item for a lot of lock shops because, again, most of the stuff we sell in bulk if you want to resell it. I'm not a salesman. I feel dirty mentioning this stuff, right? But if a shop wants them, there were a couple of shops that reached out and wanted to brand it themselves. And I said, yeah, if you want your name, I'll put your name on it. You want to buy a whole freaking box of them, we can do that. What colors do you want?
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, that is cool. All right, so I know we're running a little later than I anticipated here, Dave. If you don't mind, I have one more thing to go over, and then we'll be good here. Which is the your book, the Practical Lockpicking Guide for Security Professionals. Now, as someone, here's my copy you have there. I don't know if you sign them all or whatnot, but you signed this one here for me, so thanks for that.
Yeah.
But I tell you what, I mean, I have obviously read, a lot of books on lock picking and went through it all. But I think your book finally, though, I felt convicted reading a part of it. And it's actually changed. I actually went on lockpicks.com and I actually changed something due to what you said in the book because.
Oh, bro, what was that? Profiles that I called good or bad or something?
So I've had the worst bad habit that I don't even like to admit ever, let alone on YouTube, which is I have always called tension tools tension wrenches. Okay. Bad habit. And I'm not even joking with you. When I got done reading the book, I actually went on, it was on a Saturday or Sunday. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to sit at my laptop and I'm going to get onto lockpicks.com here and I'm going to change all of the terms to tension tool. So I have you to thank for that. I just felt super convicted. I'm like, what am I doing here? Let's get it fixed. Even though it's what I've always said. I've always just said it wrong. But some of the stories in here that you tell, the ethics on it, which is really awesome. You even give a little quiz. Now, if everyone who's watching, if you take the quiz and you pass, let us know. And if you fail, take it again. All right, take it again. But it's really fun kind of going through the history of a lot of the stuff that you point out. And in particular, if you're new in the security profession and you're really curious a lot about all the different types of picks, this and that, like you really do a great job illustrating it. And by the way, the technical diagrams, let me find a decent page here, even right here, right? Like nice colored illustrations. It's really good. I mean, I sincerely enjoyed reading this book about lockpicking more than any other book that I did. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for that.
I'll tag you in social media. I still have the old hand-drawn sketch. I was sitting, there's a hacker fellow who does a lot of work with DEF CON and a lot of badge hacking, and he's his YouTube channel has gotten really fun about some of this cryptocurrency wallet hacking. His name is Joe Graham. I was with Joe and Keely in their house and just sitting there, and I took a Kwikset lock apart. And I was with I borrowed Joe's calipers and I measured all the different dimensions of all the different, because we all have, I've had sketches over the years and diagrams in my slides, but I wanted them to actually be true to scale. Because many of us, again, there's some books that have just, I'm not putting any shade on any of the books that are out there. There's a lot of great books, but some of the diagrams look like kind of an afterthought. And that I made the diagrams before I wrote the book because I wanted them just to look better. I was making my slides better. And then I said, man, I wonder what else I could do here. And that was when the publisher around then, they were approaching me. And I said, all right, well, I got some good artwork. I might as well put some words around it.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I mean, I would completely agree. It's really nice and it's easy to learn. I mean, I admittedly learned several little tidbits out of there. But like I said, the tension tool thing, I don't know, as soon as I read it, I was like, all right, PJ, like you don't have any excuses to not do it right. In particular, on lockpicks.com, right? I mean, you can't be doing stuff like that, right?
Well, the real pedants in the audience will point out to us that tension is a linear tractive force, and turning is, torque is a rotating force. But then again, the reason I advocate is because people trying to learn, they use too much, and the word wrench or torque, they think they gotta break their tools. But I love that you made the change like that. I'm very humbled and very pleased that someone of your stature could mine a few bits of nuggets and pearls out of a book that a bozo like me made.
Oh yeah. It was a great read. It was a great read, and so I just wanted to throw that out there for anyone who likes that type of material, wants to maybe learn or whatever. And if you do, you have to reach out to me and let me know what you thought, and if you were where Deviant convicted you, okay? Because that's that was my thing, and I figured it was only right to tell you when we went live on the internet, right? It's the.
I appreciate that. I think that's wonderful.
Oh, very good. Well, hey, I mean, that kind of brings us to the end of the different tools. Now, there's plenty of other tools that you do make. We stock several other ones. Those ones kind of my favorites I wanted to highlight. Of course, everyone can check out redteamtools.com. And then also, I want to put in the link here, if you're not already subscribed over to Deviant's channel, please do. I was actually, before we hopped on live today, I was watching the video you recently did of like you had a pick set up here in your collar, you had the handcuff things, all the fun stuff, that just makes you happy. It just makes you happy when you have that stuff with you. And
I have a date tomorrow night at a fancy steakhouse here in Vegas where I live, and my date, she will tell you, like, yeah, I'm going to have the Bogotas here, I'm going to have the uncuff links here.
I like it. Yes, and I haven't yet watched. I just started watching. You started off real juicy too, okay? And I haven't watched it yet, but it's a keynote Saint Con keynote from a couple years ago.
Oh wow, yeah.
And so you started off real juicy. I started watching it.
Passport Locksmith gun. Is that one?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, I don't even know what it is, but you start off, the first couple minutes, you're like, hey, if you're offended, don't bother, don't be, it's totally fine or whatever. I was like, oh my gosh, I want to watch this one. So I'll be watching it probably tonight or tomorrow, but it looks pretty good. It looks pretty good.
Yeah. Anybody who follows up, there's a story near the end of that, and I'm pleased to say in 1 month, I will be I'm not going to give the whole story here, but I will be picking Kara up at the gates of Carswell and taking her out of the facility that has been housing her for quite a while. So fingers crossed. You'll know more if y'all watch the talk.
Okay, yeah, I don't know what you're talking about yet, but I'm sure I will here soon.
You will.
But it's always fun. I think just from the start of that, you being willing to talk about different security and different things, and maybe in a way that maybe can make. It looks like it's going to be a little uncomfortable, maybe talk, but I don't know. I think that's what makes it fun, right? Like being able to challenge our own ideas or thoughts, or be willing to get other people's perspectives. I think that's kind of one of the best part about relationships and learning. So,
absolutely.
Anyways, well, hey, so great having you on. I just put a link to your YouTube channel in the comments. If you have not subscribed, definitely do it. Like I said, I've watched several of them after I met you down there in Aloha. But anyways, I guess last question briefly here. Are you going to be at Aloha this year?
It directly overlapping something this year. I think it's Aloha's coming up in a couple weeks. Is that right?
In about a month or so. I think it's like the.
I think it overlaps with Tour Camp, which is way up in the Pacific Northwest, which I used to live up there, and I have a whole installation that'll be up there, but I think it overlaps with Tour Camp. So sadly, no, but it's in Vegas, right? This year?
Yep.
So if anybody wants to get in touch, or if you want to say hi to Bobik, who's well known in my videos, like RTA and all of our we've moved everything to Vegas now. So our main facilities out here, the research labs, everything else. If you wanted to, I don't know if you just want to do a Lockboss kind of like cocktail hour or something, you want a place to be that isn't an expensive hotel, get in touch. Maybe we can just let our space be it for you. If you want to do a meetup with any of your people, instead of going out to an expensive restaurant, we'll pull a taco truck in the parking lot for you.
Oh, sweet. Yeah, that would be awesome. At a minimum, I would love to come see it. And, we've been actually talking about doing a Lockboss party, and that maybe could be
Yeah, we got enough time to plan. Not like we're all too busy with 8 million other things already.
Yeah. Very cool. But hey, thank you for being here. Thanks for letting us sell the Red Team tools. Really appreciate it. I think it's a great offering that we're able to do on Lockpick's and CLK's site. So really appreciate it.
It's an honor. Absolutely an honor. Thank you, PJ.
All
all that you do. Really, when I met you, the communication and the outreach, it's the future of the industry. So thanks for teaching everyone what you do.
Awesome. Well, yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate you being here, and take care and have a good evening.
Right on, you too. Bye, everyone.
All right. Well, hey, how cool is that, man? What a wonderful conversation. I do feel guilty for having them stay extra long on there, but I tell you what, lots of fun. And man, if you haven't, maybe with some of your winnings right now, Julio, if we could, let's go cruise on over to the hashtag picker. Let's see how many entries we have. Because who knows, maybe with some of that entry, you can get yourself some red team tools. How about that? All right, so we got 116 entries. Now, before we draw, Julio, let's go back over to the slide and let's talk about what you are entering to win and what to do if you win. All right, so this week we're giving away 3 Lockboss winners, each a $250 gift code to CLKSupplies.com. All right, and maybe you can buy some red team tools. Maybe you can buy some supplies you need for some jobs. Maybe upgrade some tools. Who knows? It's up to you. That's why we do it. All right. We want to hook you guys up. We want to help you grow and learn and all of the stuff in between. All right. So, all right, Julio, I think without further ado, let's go ahead. And for the record, Julio right now is earning overtime. So Julio has to be super happy. All right. But anyways, all right. So, well, yeah, hey, there we go. 121 entries. Let's go ahead. Let's draw the 3 winners, Julio. Winner number 1 is Kevin Gadget Eastman, 7531. Congratulations. Let's go to winner number 2. Swamp _ Picker. Congratulations. And here we go. Last but not least, let's go to number 3. Let's see. Jeff Huggins, 9142. Congrats to all 3 winners. Now, if your username was called, let's make sure we're on the same page so we can make sure we hook you up with those $250 gift codes here. All right, so that's what you want to do. If your username was called, email us at sales@clksupplies.com and we'll get you your coupon code. All right, well, hey, that brings us to the end of today's show. Man, awesome conversation, lots of fun. We all got to hear some really cool stories. Deviant, really appreciate you coming on, hanging out with us, and for all the support you have for us and allowing us to sell your red team tools. So, all right, well, hey, with that being said, if you want more where that came from, head on over to our friend Iowa Lock Doc's Jimmy J's at Discord. We'll do a little after party. All right. As soon as I hang up live here, I'm going to hop on the Discord and we can keep the fun going here for a little bit. All right. All right, everybody. Hey, take care. Be safe out there. Keep doing that good work. And, like I said, my favorite part is how kind and courteous everyone is to each other. We've been doing this for years now. And so many of you keep showing up. You keep learning. You keep teaching other people and being encouraging. So thank you for that. All right, everybody. Y'all have a good one. Stay safe out there.